Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing great. Hope you're all doing fantastic and that you're all having a wonderful day. Hope you've all been taking care of yourselves in these incredibly trying times. Don't forget to leave a like on the video. It's a free and easy way to support the channel and my algorithm. A very big thank you to everyone who leaves a comment every single day. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. A lot of interesting news, and we've been having that for the better part of like a week now. A lot of the news we were getting before, you noticed, was like very bullish. Bitcoin's price is going here. Crypto prices are going here. But there seems to be like not a negative shift by any means, but we're getting a lot more like state adoption news. This state has pushed their paperwork forward, or this is happening, or this company is getting into it. If you missed one of the last couple of videos, like 5 of the segments were literally like, this company bought Bitcoin. This company bought Bitcoin. This company secretly bought Bitcoin. This bank bought Bitcoin, but we didn't find out until today because people were looking through the SEC's website. Guess what? This company also bought Bitcoin. That kind of thing. And we've been getting a lot of like SEC ending lawsuit news as well, which is also becoming quite big. If you haven't seen or haven't been paying attention, nearly thus far, all of the lawsuits that Gary Gensler started against cryptocurrency companies across the board have begun to fall to the ground, and they're being dismissed, or no further charges are being pursued and things like that, which is also great. But it leads us into another, like I said, like you'll understand, the news gets a little weird today because I don't know why people do things like this, because it doesn't actually help. So I'll try and give you some frame of reference as I explain everything, because this news should have been like a major win, but instead it's like oh, okay, that's weird. The crypto exchange known as Gemini is the latest crypto firm to shake off the US SEC's scrutiny as the agency closed its probe after nearly 2 years. That's when I told you years ago that I knew that something was amiss, because the Winklevoss twins, as far as we've seen in their public perception of themselves, they're very like pro-regulator and have been for a while as far as we can tell. They were always, back in 2013, 2014, if you watch the old videos from the crypto space, they were huge advocates for the New York regulatory, whatever that thing was. And they were working with regulators, and they were trying to get in conversations with the SEC. And then at some point, every crypto exchange received a Wells notice or some kind of paperwork that said that they had done something illegal in some form or fashion. So when Gemini got theirs and when Ripple got theirs, this is when I knew personally that there was some sort of corruption that was going on, because Gemini and Ripple were the two companies who were like calling for regulations. Please regulate us. Please help us in this space. So when they got in trouble, it was like, okay, something's amiss. So after all these years, the situation between Gemini and the SEC has come to an end. But for some reason, they won't let it come to an end. According to co-founder Cameron Winklevoss, the commission has decided not to pursue enforcement action against Gemini nearly 700 days after launching its investigation and 277 days after issuing a Wells notice. Here's a tweet for it right here. It says, on Monday, the SEC informed our litigation counsel that it has closed its investigation into Gemini and will not be pursuing an enforcement action against us. This comes 699 days after the start of the investigation, blah, 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 so and so and so. And then here's the actual tweet for it right here. Phantasmagorical. Gemini was originally charged alongside Genesis Global Capital in January 2023 over its now defunct EARN program, for those of you who don't remember that. From what we heard in the news, apparently Genesis and FTX were skipping down the street holding hands, and Gemini was directly or indirectly involved, whatever the case might have been. So when FTX collapsed, Genesis also collapsed, and therefore the money that would have been paid by Genesis to people on the Gemini platform was, completely obliterated. So then Gemini decided to, I believe, sue Genesis, and Genesis was trying to get money back from FTX, but a lot of the rumors that were circulating around is that all these companies were holding hands, just assuming that they were going to make tons of money together. And then when one of them fell, they all pointed fingers like, you're the devil, as opposed to being like, we were all working together before. Yada, yada. Though the case is now closed, the SEC made it clear that it isn't an official exoneration, left the door open for future action. Right, where's the other part? Wait, hold on. Wait. It's also in the other articles as well. What's basically happening right now is that the Winklevoss twins aren't satisfied with having their case dropped by the US SEC, and they're actually calling for not charges to be brought up, but kind of. They basically want to get the SEC to give them a formal apology and maybe some money in the matter as well. It says, despite all of this, for those of you who missed the other videos, they've dropped their cases against OpenSea, Robinhood, Uniswap, one or two other smaller companies. I can't remember their names. These are the larger ones. And now Gemini. Despite this, Gemini co-founder Cameron Winklevoss is far from satisfied. He has called for severe penalties against regulators responsible for the years of hostility towards the crypto industry, demanding accountability for the harm caused. Now, have you ever gotten into a situation where, let's say you're in class and someone does something, but you get in trouble? Like the teacher's like, you specifically did this. You get in trouble. It is what it is. The days pass by. And then at some point, the teacher figures out, she goes, I'm really sorry. I didn't know that it was you. And then you stand up on top of your desk and you scream, she needs to be punished. Get done away with her. Bye bye. You kind of go off the rails. Everyone else in the class is looking at you like you're completely insane, but you demand further action against that person. We know that the entirety, as far as we've been told, of everything that happened was from Gary Gensler. What exactly do you want Gary Gensler to email you or send you an e-invite and be like, hey bro, totes sorry, didn't mean to. We know he's a terrible human being. Did you see the thing as well? When Gary Gensler left the SEC in January, I think if I remember correctly, I think he went back to MIT to be a teacher. For those of you who don't know, Gary Gensler was a teacher of blockchain and Bitcoin. That's why I said years ago, I was I think he's a Bitcoin maximalist. Anyway, the point is, and then the Winklevoss twins, the day he left office, made a post and it was anyone from MIT will not be hired by Gemini because Gary Gensler works there. And I was like, do you think you're the only cryptocurrency company? You know that people can just go anywhere else. They can even go apply at Coinbase or Binance or even Kraken because they're larger crypto exchanges than Gemini. So this could have been a nice ending to something that should have probably never happened. Who knows? I don't know the inner workings of everything. But now they're throwing tantrums, saying that the SEC has to pay for what they did, and they're calling for severe penalties. It's very cringe, and I think I'm just going to end that topic there. But once again, they've made something that should have been celebratory into another gross kind of weird situation where I think that they think that they're gods. Not even joking. If you follow them over the course of many years, their actions are always kind of like this. They throw little tantrums when things don't go their way, and then when it does go their way, they tell people they tell people to join hands, come together as a community to punish someone, or to, and it's you're incredibly wealthy. Why do rich people do this? I'll never understand why rich people throw such crazy tantrums. Maybe it's because they're rich. that they feel like they have more of a whatever. But yeah, so the SEC daily now is ending more and more investigations into cryptocurrency companies and institutions, and is great to see. I assume probably 10 to 15% of them were actually warranted. You can't assume that everyone wasn't doing anything terrible, but for the most part, a lot of these were clearly just Gary Gensler trying to... we also heard previously that he had political aspirations, and even crazier, from what we've heard, no one likes him. And I don't mean like not, like, no one likes that guy. No, I mean like we've heard multiple times that people within the SEC didn't like him or didn't like working with him. No one in the CFTC likes him. And apparently he's just a very unfriendly guy. Great way to live your life, just constantly pushing people away. But yeah, this was major news. I think everyone was excited that, this is finally ending, because the idea is that all the lawsuits against all the major companies will kind of just be, disappear, and then we'll finally get proper regulations. So people are hoping for like a bigger impact on the space with actual regulatory bodies doing regulatory things. But of course, the Winklevoss twins once again had to publicly throw a tantrum and tell everybody that this is still unfair. And it's like, just be happy, dude. Like, just let it go. That's the Gemini news. And yeah, let's move on. This is how I often know that people don't really understand the impact of what's taking place within crypto. I mean, I don't think it's their fault necessarily, but if you've been into crypto, and I would, crypto finance, over the last year or year and a half, when I say do your own research, it's not simply like go find another article. No, like really look at what these companies are, who's in the space, like what money actually moves around in terms of things within this market. It's kind of like years ago, once again, when we first heard that BlackRock was getting into the space. This was 2018, for those of you who don't remember. And I remember freaking out in the video because I was like, these people like own everything. If they're getting into Bitcoin, they're buying up tons of Bitcoin. They basically want to own all of it for themselves, and they will be the harbingers, if you will, of $1 million Bitcoin. But then people hear what's happening and they look at prices, especially in 2018, and they see prices go down and they go, well, I guess it was a nothing burger. And then you see prices go up and then people go, BlackRock. Prices go sideways and they go, oh, well, I guess that was the end of the bull run. And it's this really weird, like I said, it's not people's fault that they don't know about them, but it's also your fault if you're not paying attention. If you've been into finance for a long time, you should know a number of things. What a liability is, what an asset is. Like you should know something about the housing market. You should have learned about securities and equities and commodities and bonds. You should know you should know what these things are. So when they come up in topic, you're simply not there going, well, how does that affect crypto? So a lot of companies have been getting into the space, and this is also something that I said, I've seen people in the comment section. Listen, if you've paid attention, if you know what things are, if you've read and done research on companies and institutions getting into the space, this isn't targeted to you. To everyone else out there who continuously keeps getting upset and doesn't really understand what's happening within the market or the effect that this is going to have on the space, I'm talking directly to you. When you hear that ETFs purchased nearly 1.5 million Bitcoin in around 12 months, that is something hyper significant. And it means that in the future, they're only going to collect more. We're going to have more Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. The amount on crypto exchanges of Bitcoin and Ethereum will continue to decline. The amount on over-the-counter markets will continue to dry up, which is also something that people have a hard time understanding in any form or capacity. When you hear these companies who are getting into the space, they're not doing it because they want to make life better for you. They figured out a way to become richer, and it's through the cryptocurrency market. And this is often something that boggles the mind for a lot of people because they can't conceptualize what it actually means. And I mean not in an ominous way at all, but you will understand in the future. This is part of the problem with crypto, is that a lot of people who are in this space are in it for the moment. They're here now. They want to make fast money, and there's no concept of what could be in the future. If you find property for $50,000, there's no concept in a lot of people's minds that it could one day be worth $500,000 because they're only looking at what's currently on the table right now. The idea, even for a lot of people in crypto, that Bitcoin is going to $1 million means nothing to them because they look at the current price and they go, well, that's not $1 million. So what exactly are you talking about? The space is being overrun, overtaken quite quickly by very rich institutions who have one thing in mind, and it's about control and control of Bitcoin and control of the system and control of the market because they want everything for themselves. And it's a repeat of the previous market, which I'm also going to show you, which we've also gone over before. Understand, and I mean really know and hear my words. This is all because they know that Bitcoin is capable of going to multiple $1 million per coin. Retail has no clue what's going on because it doesn't make any sense to them because they often don't hold assets. If you don't hold assets, if you don't have anything that appreciates, you can't really conceptualize what all of this actually means or even why people would buy, air quote, at a lower price. I show you all every single time if the market has like a crash, and then subsequently, over the course of multiple months during a bear market, the prices are going down. I make sure to always show you those articles where it's like, despite the price going down, BlackRock bought more. Even though Bitcoin's price has fallen by 38%, MicroStrategy just bought another $2 billion, and it's because you purchase when prices are low because you know that they're going to go higher. You accumulate and you hold because this is how it works. Citibank and State Street, two of the largest U.S. banks, are planning to launch custodial services for cryptocurrencies and digital assets. State Street is one of the largest institutions on the planet, not in the United States, but on the planet. They are part of a consortium, a very large consortium of a couple of companies who nearly own everything. This news was not popular because the average person does not understand or can possibly grasp the amount of wealth that Citibank has and the amount of power and influence that State Street has. Especially if you hear a name like State Street, it means literally almost near nothing to you. These companies are consistently on track, constantly, to own everything on the planet. Real estate, land, water rights. They own air rights. You can't begin to conceptualize. Remember, I was telling you before, if you have $1 million, you would typically purchase a couple of investment properties, one for yourself, and you dabble in some stocks and stuff like that. A lot of people, when you get to the point where you have $100 million, this is when usually your wealth manager would say, hey, you should put $1 million here, $1 million here, $1 million here. You really have to diversify so you can kind of have your hand in every single cookie jar. When you have $47 billion, you can literally throw your money into the air, into the wind, and it'll circle back around and be worth about 10 times more. The amount of things you can invest in are actually staggering. You can invest in infrastructure from other countries, in railroad projects from other places. Like it really, like, the sky is actually the limit. This is why you keep hearing a lot of times in the news. I mean, it's also because of corruption and fraud, but a lot of times you'll hear like the wealth of the wealthiest people like rose quite rapidly. And it's because you are literally able to put your money into so many different places. When you hear that these banks and these institutions who run the world and own the world are getting into crypto, are getting into custody in crypto, or remember we were talking about before, like buying and selling crypto, that's also a very big thing. You forget that like they've been here for a while. This isn't, State Street isn't just sitting there going, is it Wednesday? We have nothing else to do. Let's buy some Bitcoin. It's, it sounds, it has multiple syllables. Let's buy it. This has been years in the making. They know exactly what's going on. When you hear that once again, that 90% of Bitcoin is owned by the richest people and the richest wallets on the planet, it does nothing to retail because they sit there and go, well, the price just went down by 3%. Yeah, that's so you get out of the market. Even the recent flush out that we had in the market, this is all part of the manipulation. It's to make sure that retail isn't here. They don't want us in this market. They don't want us in any market. There's a reason why they're buying up all the homes. They want you to be a renter for life. There's a reason why they're buying up all the water and the lakes and all the water rights. They want you to have to pay them for what they own forever. They're buying up all the land. I just saw something which a lot of people also don't know. I think they're referred to as constructed homes now. When I was younger, they were called like trailer homes, or like people in trailer parks. Companies and organizations are figuring out, or they ascertain that land is cheap comparative to other land. So they're literally buying the land from under these things and also buying these homes. So that even when people are looking for, a place to buy that would be 50, 60, 70,000 or whatever, they can't anymore. Those are all owned by the corporations, and the land that it's also on, you also can't own that either. So you have to pay them rent every single month to be able to have your trailer on top of that land. They want everything. And now they're in crypto, and people, this is the disappointing part, is that people within crypto don't look a step further to figure out what this all could possibly mean. Why are all these banks and institutions getting into crypto? You think they want to custody your coins for fun? They're doing it because they know how big that this is going to be. When you have all these analysts talking about Bitcoins going to several $1 million per coin, they want to hold on to that as a bank. They understand that they're going to be left behind if they don't do something now. Remember when Visa announced that they were jumping head first to get into crypto? They loved Ethereum, and they were trying to tell people to even send them, for those of you who missed it, Visa was telling people to send them their Ether so that they could then, if you were trying to transfer it, it had to go through Visa systems. They understand that this is the new thing, and they're trying to get control of it, and they're trying to own all of it. And this is usually the problem because retail investors, everyday normal people, continue to make sure to not pay attention. It's incredibly and dramatically sad that once again, we are witnessing a wealth transfer that people are basically choosing to not be a part of. Only a small fraction of you are actually going to make it. That's not meant to be ominous or scary. It's because mathematically, a lot of you don't really care. A lot of times, if you're not a YouTuber, as I've spoken before about my analytics, and I can usually tell when prices are going down because I can see my view count, like mathematically on the chart, also begins to slip. What's a really big indicator of like actually being able to make it as well and understanding what's taking place is there's another metric for retention on a video. So you've heard me, remember years ago, I used to always say, like, if you made it to the end of the video, whatever, so and so, you can actually see the retention level. If my videos aren't hypey enough, if I'm not talking about prices, if I'm not telling people that XRP is going to $900 million, I can see my retention, like people clicking out of my video because it's not what they want to hear. You want to hear, it is on June 2nd, you are going to be worth $1.4 million. The idea of me telling you that in the next 10 years, your wealth is going to skyrocket and you're going to have a very rare asset does nothing for a large number of people because they only want that money right now. They'll spend that money, they get rid of it, you'll buy a whole bunch of fancy, beautiful things, and then you'll wonder where all of your money went. If you tell anyone in finance, I have a friend of a friend, and I was explaining crypto to him for a good while. He is heavily into real estate and he loves stocks and bonds and yada yada. And I was telling him about crypto, and he thought I was absolutely nuts. And I was like, I got you. And then one day I sent him a screenshot of some large financial institution who was getting into the space, and he was like, really? And then I was like, okay, cool. And I started sending him all the other banks because this is what he understands. He understands like this is, a bank. This is the banking. This is where money is made. Send them 5 other articles. They're also getting into crypto and they're buying crypto. These companies and these institutions just bought Bitcoin and they bought a bunch of Bitcoin ETFs. So, when I sent the article about BlackRock and the ETF, can you guess who bought Bitcoin? Can you guess who's heavily into crypto now? It's because I had to almost speak in his language. But if you've never had money before, you can't conceptualize having a lot of money or what to do with it. Remember I said in another video, and this is completely true, I know a lot of people this cycle plan on taking profits, cashing out, living their best life. How do you plan on doing that? It's a real question. I remember this was maybe 10 years ago. I was on Facebook and I saw people posting. It was like family members of family members. I don't know these people, but whatever. I saw people posting and they were talking about wanting to be rich and buying a home. And one of them posted a photo of this gigantic mansion. And I was reading what they were discussing. It was, it was lighthearted. But in my mind, I was like, if you had a house that was worth $3.8 million, you wouldn't know what to do with it. If you had a house, if someone gave you $3 million, a lot of you wouldn't know what to do with it. You think, I'm going to invest it. Invest it in what? What yeah. Someone just said stocks. Which stocks? Which blue chip stocks are actually safe enough for you to put your money into? Which of these companies has been around for almost 100 years and has a constantly increasing dividend? You want to buy land? What kind of land? You're going to buy land in a forest somewhere that has timber on it? Are you going to buy farmable land that actually works and that is actually farmable before you buy? How do you plan on testing that? You want to get into real estate? What kind of real estate are you going to buy? Where are you going to buy it? What's the purpose of that real estate? Who are you going to put into that apartment? Is it for students? Is it just a normal thing that you're going to buy? Do you want to buy studios? Do you know that studios have a larger upside mathematically, price-wise, percentage-wise than 1 bedrooms do? As do 2 and 3 bedrooms because they tend to be a lot rarer. What's the actual goal for what you're planning on doing? This all ties directly into me talking about these institutions getting into the space. You hear me speaking in English that it's happening, but it does nothing to your brain because you can't conceptualize what the next step actually is. You've seen it many times. I remember being younger. You've heard this before. Whenever anybody won any of these competitions, whether it be Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or American Idol, this is years and years and years ago. And the grand prize was always $1 million. You know how many of these people went broke afterwards? You know why? Because a lot of them were literally going house shopping for $1 million home. You sit there and you laugh because you go, well, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, because it's all in the same spectrum. They didn't realize that they would have to pay taxes on it because no one tells you that you have to pay taxes on it. When they bought these expensive homes, you need upkeep. Who's cleaning that whole house? Who's cleaning all 7 bedrooms? Who's mowing the lawn? Who's doing everything for the land? Who's paying for the water, the electricity? You see that you have the money, but you don't understand what you actually have to do with it or what the point of the money actually is. You want to make big bucks from crypto, but you haven't gone to the next step. What are you going to do with that money? How will you continue to make sure that you make generational wealth? You've seen before people win the lotto, they get 75 million, oh, I'm broke. They have no idea what to do with it. There's no concept of what investing actually is. There's a whole bunch of shows that used to be, was it on TLC? You can find them on YouTube of people who had these huge winnings from things like that. And if you Google them now, they're all broke. There was one story I Googled where this guy actually made it. He was a very simple country kind of guy. And he made, I forgot how much money, it was 30, 40 something million from his winnings. But he was he bought a ranch somewhere and he kind of just let it sit there. And then at some point he realized he could buy other ranches and he could buy other homes. And he's like, okay, he got it. That was one story out of 300. Because everyone else gets the money and they don't know what to do with it or what big money actually is. If you hear generational wealth, you assume people sitting in castles and everyone's super rich and everyone's going to the Bahamas and stuff all the time and living their best life. You know what you have to do to get there? You know how many investments you actually have to make? The wealth management that you actually need to be able to make sure that that money is all there and that taxes are appropriately paid on everything that you have. The dividends that you get. What do you do with that money? Nothing is safe. Nothing is stable. You listen, you make the big bucks, and from dividends alone or from rent alone, you're making $30,000 a month. What are you doing with that $30,000? Someone just said, living my best life. Oh, well, that's great. Because if all the dominoes end up falling, well, guess what? You lost everything. Even from the $30,000 that you get, that's also being taxed. The money that you're getting from that, you use a portion of that to continue investing in other things. You put $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 every single month into another investment. You need to keep the ball rolling. That's how you create generational wealth. It's not just, I'm rich right now, here we go. It's crazy. It's so odd. This I say it in the nicest way possible so that a lot of you really do get it. A lot of you think you're going to make it, but you're not, because you don't know the next step. You don't want to know the next step. I'm talking about real stuff, and people click away from the video. I see people talking about real stuff on Twitter, and it's just like hate comments, and it's like, okay, cool. You don't want to be rich. You don't want to have money. You don't want to be successful. You want to brag to people. You want to go on Instagram. You want to show your neighbors that you got it. The person who made fun of you in high school, you want to be able to look at the car I got. I made it. Car breaks down. You can't sell it anymore. Well, guess what? Who's sleeping in that Lamborghini? It boggles the freaking mind. Citibank and State Street have separately announced plans to enter the cryptocurrency custody space as more financial firms outline digital asset strategies, because it's the future. Because people will need these institutions or want to use these institutions in the future when they have all this money and they see it. Citi unveiled its CIDAP digital asset platform, which offers crypto safeguarding technology for clients. The bank's website also revealed that it had been exploring a pilot program for tokenizing private markets as well. Meanwhile, State Street, one of the world's largest custodian banks, is reportedly set to launch its crypto custody services in 2026. For those of you who did not see this article a couple of months ago, as I showed you, and I was like, yeah, this is how the world actually works. For those of you not looking at the screen, there are three companies that control 88% of the stock market. 1, 2, 3. They are BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. Should I repeat that one more time? BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. 88% of corporations in America. And that's just in America. And I told you before in another video, I said, what happens when you do the top 5? Or the top 10, how much do they own collectively? And even crazier, the money that they're making, they loop that back around to continue buying more of these companies. There was another article, maybe it's somewhere in here, I don't know the exact wording of this article. You know what these companies do? They have a very different strategy from many other companies in general. They don't liquidate their assets. They don't often, they trade in different manners and forms, but you know what they normally do? They just buy and hold. And from the millions and billions that they're making from their dividends of the assets that they hold, they swap that money right back into those assets so that they keep getting more and more dividends. That's generational wealth. Doesn't the 88% look a little familiar? It's 2% away from what all the rich people own for Bitcoin. There's a reason why they own 90% of Bitcoin. Because over the course of 16 years, how many times were people afraid? Got out of the market, terrified, left the space. You hear that these companies and corporations are getting into crypto. Prices go down and you go, well, the market's not going anywhere. You are not going to make it. You are not going to become rich because you don't want to be rich. You're looking to brag to people. If you could see my face, I'm red with anger because I'm so annoyed. This market is made for you. This market is here for you to become rich and become financially independent. Even when we get crazy news all the time, it does nothing to the majority of people within the space because they don't want to know what's going on. They want to have been rich March 1st. Why am I not wealthy? This market's garbage. I saw people on Twitter. This is the worst bull run ever. Why is everything so... I don't understand. And it's like, okay, well, keep selling your coins to BlackRock and also subsequently now to State Street and to the other governments and the other banks, the other institutions who are waiting for you to become angry and annoyed, to sell your coins, to liquidate completely so that you can feel better for a week. They buy up your coins. We get whale news. All those coins that were on the market, they're completely gone. Prices go back up, and then you go, oh, whatever. I'm not touching crypto anymore. Bitcoin goes to 170,000. You go, fine, whatever. I'll buy a couple hundred. And then the anger begins to set in because you realize that you missed out on your chance. You liquidated everything. You went and bought a fancy hat, and you went somewhere for a couple of weeks, and you were spending because you had the money. Big boy bucks. You got rid of all of it. And then you go, oh, the crypto market's going back up. That's right. There are cycles. This happens every single time. I wish I had paid attention to the fact that central banks were buying Bitcoin. If you missed the video a couple of days ago, we had two new that people had to find SEC filings. I forgot which banks they were. It was the Bank of Montreal and other bank. The Bank of Montreal had purchased $118 million worth of Bitcoin ETF shares from BlackRock. And the other bank had $160 million worth of Bitcoin. But Bitcoin's not going anywhere. Bitcoin's, just sitting there. Bitcoin's not high enough for the public to actually care about it. I told you before, I think people are waiting for $1 million Bitcoin so that they can feel more depressed and realize that they missed out. I think that this is what people want. I think people want to be annoyed and angry and depressed that they missed out so that they have a story to share with people forever. Yeah, I was in Bitcoin. I remember when it was around 25,000. It was all garbage. It's over $1 million now, but glad I'm not in that. I think people want to say these things. This has to be the only option. No one cares about their economic future or where things are going to go. So that has to be the only... You must be content not having anything. Every single day we get crazy news like this. It's not once a week. It's not once a month where we have a little powwow and go, look, one amazing thing. It's every 24 hours. And sometimes it's even more frequent than that. Well, I think that's going to do it for this video. I hope you got something from it. Hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all bought the dip, buying the dip, or did a flip, or whatever you need to do. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.